Welcome back, Guardians. It's good to be able to speak to you again. With the Red War now long since past and the Traveler awakened, we now have an opportunity to forge a new path, free from the tyrannies and transgressions of the darkness-infused enemies that continue to surround us. Sure, we've lost one of our triangular vanguard leaders. The Reef is still in conflict and the Fallen continue to harass us in the European Dead Zone. But we are still in control of our own fates. With victory comes knowledge of your enemy, and if we are to be truly successful in eliminating the most dangerous of our foes, the Vex, we should study every artifact, every inscription, and uncover every clue. Our first stop on the journey of the Vex is the celestial body of Nessus, or we should say the artificial body and the prison to the souls of the Exodus Black. Nessus is what many would consider a Centaur minor planet, a small solar system body that doesn't operate like traditional orbital bodies. In the early 21st century, pre-Golden Age humanity had recorded or estimated that 44,000 Centaur bodies existed in our solar system, ranging in shapes and sizes. Often, their characteristics are described as a mix of asteroid and comet, coming and going into the solar system over the course of thousands of years, which is why some Centaur bodies go quote-unquote missing, as they come into visibility briefly, only to leave our sight just as quickly. This celestial centaur body is aptly named Nessus, as it shares the characteristics of the half-horse, half-human mythological creature from ancient Greek history of humanity's distant past. Nessus itself is estimated to complete and orbit around the Sun every 122 years. However, this does not explain its both disappearance and reappearance about 100 years before the Siva crisis. It's theorized that during this, quote, disappearance is when the Vex had come into contact with the Centaur planet, setting their tendrils of dominant Axis minds deep into the celestial body's crust. It is with these Axis minds that the Vex transfer a planet into a machine world, as noted by Mercury and Venus. They have those unique Vex characteristics. The process itself is still not completely understood, but Vanguard reports of the interaction with Osiris on Mercury do note that this process takes an immense amount of computational power and time. Perhaps, when burrowing into the planetary targets, the Axis minds make use of geothermal or tectonic friction, converting this into energy for their own machinations. Nessus, another one of the Vex targets, was also transformed into a machine world, as documented by the Exodus Black onboard AI failsafe. Roughly 92% of the world has already been transformed from inorganic to organic life, meaning that the plants, trees, the inorganic rock formations all have some sort of Vex technology implemented within them, making them purely artificial recreations of the original, but with the purpose of supporting the planet's power needs or the Axis Mind's objective. It is with these Axis Minds that the Vex transfer a planet to a machine world, as noted by Mercury and Venus with those unique Vex characteristics. The process itself is still not completely understood, but Vanguard reports on the interactions with Osiris on Mercury do note that the process takes an immense amount of computational power and time. Perhaps, when burrowing into the planetary targets, the Axis minds make use of geothermal or tectonic friction, converting this into energy for their own machinations. Nessus, another one of the Vex targets, was also transformed into a machine world, as documented by the Exodus Black's onboard AI failsafe. Roughly 92% of the world has been transformed from the inorganic to the organic life, meaning that the plants, trees, and inorganic rock formations all have some sort of Vex technology implemented within them, making them purely artificial recreations of the original. but with the purpose of supporting the planet's power needs or the Axis Mind's objective. The Vex are such a wondrous enemy, capable of such impressive things, but they are also not without their own evil, a version of darkness so uncaring and cold that their very nature and actions committed against humanity are simply a part of who they are. There is no additional reason to explain the why of their actions. They wish to write themselves into the very laws of the universe. Who are we to stand on the moral high ground and exclaim their falsehoods? Perhaps the Vex have the right way about it, testing, simulating, converting, implementing, copying, and controlling. They did such things to the crew of the Exodus Black, as documented by Guardian fire teams. According to Vanguard reports, during incursions in Nessus, Guardians reported sighting a Vex Harpy that would lead them along a unique path and journey. The Harpy claimed to be the captain of the Exodus Black, or at least a version of him. Imagine yourself to be one of the Exodus Black's 600 colonists. Your vessel is attacked by the Vex during your journey towards the Kuiper Belt, and forced to crash or sabotage to do so onto the surface of Nessus. During this period of time, your crewmates are picked off one by either the Vex, the natural environment, or by encroaching starvation. Your only hope is to reach out to the satellite array and message for assistance. Presumably, the crash of the Exodus Black came during the days of the collapse, when humanity was either attempting to flee from the crashing Golden Age, or this vessel was one of the many expeditions set upon the solar system during the Golden Age carrying the SIVA nanotechnology, able to convert inhospitable worlds into garden green worlds close to Earth. It's most likely that the Exodus Black was a part of the original colony ships that was set about before the collapse, but close to it, as the colony ship would come in contact with the Vex during their voyage. The arrival of the Vex and the other races that detest us is not well documented, but it's assumed that the Vex interacting with humanity during the Golden Age or just after, and that the Exodus Black's crew may be the first time humanity had come in contact with physical forms. In the following Vanguard reports, a Harpy reportedly tests the fire team in the hopes of either attaining some knowledge and information of the Lightbearers, or in the hopes of better understanding the relationship between the Vex and humanity. Now, Captain Jacobson, as described by Failsafe, was incredibly kind to all forms of machine life, but there has not been any previous documentation of the Vex responding to humanity with anything other than force. In the final audio logs of the crew of the Exodus Black and that of Jacobson, they attempted to reach a satellite array to send a distress signal. During this period, the Vex tested these humans, difficult, if not impossible, experiments that led to their deaths or eventual removal. Likely, this Harpy is a simulation of Captain Jacobson, a fragmented copy of the original, attempting to understand humanity from a physical Vex platform. This Harpy is also one of the few recorded to be non-hostile towards Guardians, offering to guide and test rather than fight and simulate.
There's a voice recording left behind in this suit's computer.
Mayday! Mayday! I repeat, the Exodus Black has been compromised by an unknown alien life form. We're 600 souls aboard. Systems are failing. We're going down. Mayday! Day 9. We're out. Just left. Water, oxygen, ideas. I'm gonna disable the shackle programming and the ship's fail-safe AI. We can get. We lost the lieutenant today. Now it's just the pilot, the captain, and me. Cap thinks the black satellite array might still be intact. I think he's crazy. Captain, please, don't go. Those robots will kill you.
Perhaps this is a new way of Vex interaction with Guardians. After all, Guardians have thwarted the Vex at almost every major crossroads, from the Black Garden to the Vault of Glass to the Pyramidium. It's unlikely that the Vex will change how they treat Guardians, but it is clear that they are ultimately a threat to our existence, as their version of the universe is a simulated mess of half copies, much like a centaur, half Vex, half original. This is only the first piece of information that Nessus has given us, that the Vex are testing and simulating, often uncaring of humanity or their transgressions on their machine worlds. To the Vex, we are nothing more than organic bodies to be tested upon, with the unique caveat of bearing light, something the Vex cannot simulate or recreate, at least for now. Stay safe on your journeys, Guardians.